Hi friends, I'm Liam and my pronouns are he, him, and I am running to be your next Student Union President. This is Georgia Bishop, my lovely friend and campaign team. Georgia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Georgia, and I am a third year screenwriting and drama and performance student, and Liam's friend.
Yay! I'm also a screenwriting and creative writing student, so I thought that we'd make um, the elections process a little bit more creative and fun by having a little interview. Take it away, Georgia.
First of all, Liam, why don't you tell me a bit about yourself, other than your course, because I don't think that your course defines you.
No, my course actually does not define me anymore. I came into university thinking that I was going to go into like creative advertising, writing scripts for advertising. But as COVID happened, that kind of changed because I don't really want to write anymore. So in September, I went into kind of helping student mode. I've been a course rep for all 3 years of the study. So I'm really used to kind of speaking to students, having a nice time, putting forward their feedback and ending the feedback cycle. So it's like a little loop. So like I get their feedback, that gets passed on to the tutor, and then that gets talked about, and then that feedback gets passed back. I think it's called feedbacked. And since September, I've also been the chair of the Mature Students, Parents and Carers Network. I've really loved it. I've loved getting to know loads of people. I've loved putting forward their voice at the Students' Union.
What kind of things does that involve for people that don't really understand what you do in that role?
So essentially, the networks are a mixture of society and representation at the Students' Union. So we would have all the fun of a society if it wasn't for like being stuck in our bedrooms, but we still do. We have like Teams meetings where we just have chats. I'm there all the time on social media, things like that. But basically, I just help them get through uni, pass on their feedback to the SU, and then try and create change at the university level through the SU. So we have Welfare and Inclusion Council meetings and things like that, where we just get things done really, like changing the registry system. That's what I'm working on now.
I think there's way too much of people wanting change, but it not actually happening because it hits a wall and it's just
Yeah.
like, it doesn't.
Honestly, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that like want things done now, like yesterday. Like I want things already done because if I've thought of it, it should have been done.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, change happens really, really slowly. So it's just consistent kind of discussions and chats and knowing the right people and knowing where to go. So it's a real skill. It's a real skill.
I think if anybody can do it, it would be you, because I know what you're like when you're a man on a mission.
Oh yeah, I'm quite tenacious.
Yeah, you
I
are.
get what I want.
So what made you want to nominate yourself for the SU president role?
I wanted to nominate myself because one of the main things that I want to change at uni is the curriculum, things on a curriculum level. So I study two courses. I study a joint course. And one of those courses went through kind of the whole module was about understanding how to write people and how to write people sensitively, doing research into culture and not offending anybody. And my other course didn't do that. So my other course is arts based, and we're just told to kind of write, which is great. It's really freeing, but I think that it's really important that we know as kind of, maybe if we're screenwriters, maybe if we are illustrators, if we're drama students, how to kind of represent other people in a way that's respectful, because I think it's really important. Like, we are the future of industry. I keep saying this.
I love that phrase.
We are the future. So like, if nursing students weren't able to meet Black people, for example, like how would that represent them in the future? How could they take their career forward without knowing how to kind of speak to people properly? And I think it's really important as future people writing in television, as people going to be graphic designers working in colleges, drawing people, representing race through that, and ethnicity and sexuality and gender. I think it's really important that we learn that now.
I'm at the end of 3 years and I haven't touched base on any of that. There's only so much you can do to educate yourself. Sometimes you need the guidance of somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
And another thing that I think is really important is that the university and the SU, actually, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this, but I am, they don't target students properly.
Yeah.
Like, they work really hard to target students, but it's just not effective in the way that they do it. So things like the SU can't do anything about, is it change.org, the signed petitions site. So like, a lot of students will use that to kind of say, okay, we want refunds, we want this changing, we want that changing. But the SU don't register that as a kind of official source, because there's no way that they can monitor that and who's signing it.
Yeah.
So they use something called the Ideas Forum, but that's just not as shareable, the change.org website.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we kind of hit students where they need to be hit and make things as easy as possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know about the Ideas Forum until about 6 months ago. And I've been at the uni 2 years kind of thing. So that's just an example of some of us don't really know.
If you're not engaged with things like social media, like their social media and like
Yeah.
the right uni social media, then you just never even see it. Like you never even know that it's there.
What kind of experience do you think that you have for the role that would make you a good candidate?
I think it's really difficult to say the experience that you need to get into it, because I think everyone is different in terms of their approach to like any of the roles. I think I've got a lot of experience working with people and trying to get what they need to fruition, essentially. And I think that what I've really got is a lot of communication skills. I think a lot of my campaign this year is about talking to people and understanding their wants and needs, because it's really easy to say, okay, I'm going to build like a park in the back of St. John's. Like it's really easy to kind of go big, but like that's not reality. Like people might not want a park in the back of SU.
Yeah.
If I put a skate ramp because like 3 people said it to me, that doesn't mean that everybody wants it. So I think it's really important that we work to kind of communicate with each other and discuss what we actually want and need. And I think that's the main skill that I have: listening, communicating.
Now, we've kind of spoken a bit about what you want to kind of achieve with the role, but what would you say your main objectives are?
So the 2 main objectives that I have, we discussed kind of the making things a little bit more inclusive within the curriculum. That is one of my main aims.
Yeah.
Just like discussing it. For example, a student that I know that I helped them with their dissertation on couldn't use the whole binary spectrum, the gender binary spectrum. They were told to use male and female because it would be too hard to add non-binary or transitioning or like any other kind of people within the non-binary spectrum. But I think we had a big discussion, like we had a big debate within it, because I think her dissertation was how mental health is targeted. So how mental health support is targeted for and how it's different between men and women.
Yeah.
And they were kind of forced down that route by lecturers.
Okay.
But I think they could have done that research. They could have come up with the same kind of research. But then if they had extra research about how LGBTQ plus people found that they were targeted in mental health, that could have really helped the university and the SU.
Yeah.
So like it's things like that are kind of slowing progress maybe.
Yeah.
Another big thing that I want to do is kind of working on how mental well-being support is being put forward. So we talk a lot about mental health support, but I think there's a barrier to that, if I'm honest. I think people think that they're not worthy of mental health support because they're like, oh, well, I'm just stressed. I'm mega stressed. I'm overwhelmed by everything that's going on, but I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. I don't really need the support. Do you know what I mean? I'm not spiraling.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if these things are kind of helped at the source and understood why they're there, then they wouldn't need to grow. My anxiety is massive when, like, so it'll start off as like, okay, I need to do this assignment. I'm not doing that assignment because I'm doing other things. Then I'll get overwhelmed and then I'll be like, oh no, the world is falling apart and I don't know what to do. And also I think that the mental health help needs to kind of be looked at as well, how people access that. Because I think at the minute, and I might be mistaken, but when I accessed it last year, it was an email. So you had to email first point. And I think that, do you know what? I think that's really rude.
I know a lot of people that have said the same thing as well.
Yeah, and I know that Meg Price, the current president, is working on, again, similar things to me in terms of how they can get help initially. Just even if it's just a chat like this, even if it's just like an unload, tell me how you're feeling, like what are you overwhelmed about? Even if it's just like a reflection exercise maybe, things like that.
Can I also just ask where you draw the distinction between mental well-being and mental health?
Well, I think the lines cross in terms of what people perceive as mental well-being and mental health.
Yeah.
So mental well-being is almost an ongoing practice. So like people talk about self-care and like yoga and walking and meditating. But for me, mental well-being is feeling your best and making the university kind of support that. And again, even if it's just like assignment stress, knowing where to go, knowing that you can just speak to people, knowing that you can go to your pat about that. Whereas mental health, I think mental health has a lot of labels around it. So mental health has specific labels. And I think it's kind of been directed that way through society. People used to say like positive mental health, and now people are like, oh, mental health is this.
Yeah.
So when I talk about mental well-being, it's a bit like physical well-being in terms of people say that you need to eat like 5 fruit and veg a day, you need to drink plenty of water. It's the same with your mental well-being. Like you need to kind of nourish it to make it positive and grow.